Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, and thanks for stopping by. Our dedicated team will guide you through with the latest updates and theories at Starbase, Texas. If you're new to the channel, be sure to hit the subscribe button and the bell icon for future streams.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to another Starbase Weekly live stream. My name is Zach Golden, and happy to be here with all of you today. It's going to be a great show today. We have a new commentator with us. Welcome, Kai. Thanks for joining us.
Hello, it's a pleasure to be here.
Awesome. Thanks. Happy to have you. We'll also have Jake joining us here. I don't know, maybe in like a half hour or something like that. But then we also have Stephanie taking care of questions and donations for us today for Astro Joe.
G'day, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening from all across the world. Welcome to Starbase Weekly. I'll hand it back to Zach.
Awesome. Yeah, and as y'all can tell by this image, these pictures were taken on Thursday, and as you all know, things tend to change pretty rapidly. So we already have Booster 10 on the launch mount and Ship 28 at the launch site, preparing to be stacked onto Booster 10. So, you know, these things happen where things tend to get outdated pretty quickly, but that's fine. I think Mauricio, we may possibly in the background have some live footage maybe of the stack. We're going to be working on that as the show goes on to see if we'll be able to possibly like picture that into the top corner of the screen or something. But no promises. We will, you know, it'll probably be a surprise if it pops up, but yeah, we're going to try to do that because I know a lot of people like to be able to watch the stack and the show at the same time. So we'll see what we can do there. But in the meantime, let's go ahead and get into today's show, and we will start over at the Massey's test site. I always say that like it's a surprise where we're going to be starting. But yeah, I guess one thing I should also mention, last week we had a flyover where it was, I think we were at 6,400 feet. And from my understanding, this week's flyover was at 3,700 feet. So even lower. But as y'all can tell, it is still that time of year where the weather is not really cooperating. So some of the sites we weren't able to get as many shots, but they are a lot clearer than they would be otherwise. I don't think we would have been able to do a flyover at all this week had it not been at the low altitude that we were flying at. So hopefully y'all enjoy these low angle shots. They're pretty awesome. Sometimes it's harder to see things if you're not like right on top of it, but I don't know. I think the extra detail is worth it for sure. With that, let's see what we got going on over here at Massey's. As y'all know, we've been kind of keeping an eye on the progression of the expected flame trench over here, and happened to get some well-timed images this week, being able to see one of the massive rebar cages in the air waiting to be lowered down into the ground. I can't really tell necessarily where it's going in at. I think they possibly, this is like shortly after they just lifted it up, because it was probably down here in this area. I'm sorry, or I think they were storing them right here. This seems to be the other pile of them. So they're building some over here, then they have some laid out right here. But this crane is basically got one in the air, preparing to lower it down into the ground. And you can also see the I forget what this is called, the bucket elevator or bucket scoop, whatever you want to call it, digging one of the holes into the ground right here as well. So that's really awesome. It looks like they're going across to do the front side of it right now. So I'm assuming that means they have done a lot of the far side over here. That's what they did last week. We were seeing them skip positions, so they were going every other spot. So they've been really busy doing this pretty much every single day. So I'm assuming they may have completed that side of the wall, and it's possible that they've gotten this side of the wall done as well too. Now that they're moving to the front side, so lots of good progress on this, and we're keeping our eyes out, hoping that one of these weeks soon we'll be able to see them start to excavate all of this out. But yeah, making some really good progress. What else we got? So I think in relation to this, I'm going to kind of skip our cryo station. The tent, this is a tent that was actually previously set up over in this back left corner over here. So the last time we saw this was when they were constructing the booster and ship cryo stations. So I think, in just basically looking through the open area of this tent, this appears to be preparation to actually construct the static fire test stand. So you can see some stands right here, and they're kind of shaped in a ring, even though you can only see about two of them. You can just barely tell that they're shaped in a ring. So I think pretty soon we'll start to see them assemble the actual platform that the ship will rest on top of. So, I mean, that's actually pretty interesting, though, because I think this means that we probably won't see any more ship cryo tests until this is completed. But I'm not even really sure where we are with cryo tests on ships. I think, obviously, 29 has been completed. Did they do 30 already?
Yeah.
Not.
Go ahead.
Not entirely sure about that one.
Yeah, I mean, I know for a fact that 29 is done, because that one has already moved into Mega Bay 2 for engine installation. So it's possible that they've done 30, but I'm not 100% sure. But yeah, so,
Ship 30 has done a cryo. It's done 2 cryos.
Okay, yeah, that's what I thought. So in that case, this shouldn't really get in the way of too many things, because they have the ships for basically the next 3 flights already cryo tested. So that gives them a little time to get this constructed without having to worry about interrupting their testing procedures. So that's good news. And as far as the booster cryo stand goes, that one we can kind of see down here that they've gotten the formwork up for that cryo stand right here, which, well, we're assuming is going to be a cryo stand. You can see the embeds that are being placed out right here. I think these are some in the corners right there as well too. 1, 2, 3, 4 corners, and there's some in the middle as well too. So you can kind of also see how tall these walls are as well. With this angle, it really helps with being able to see that. So I think this is definitely for sure looking like a cryo stand. We still don't know if it's going to be a replacement for the booster or if we're going to see the can crusher move into this location. What do y'all think? Have you reevaluated your opinions on this at all?
Honestly, I don't think the can crusher will move, but with how big that concrete foot is and how deep they've actually set it, I won't be surprised if that does become a booster cryo stand.
One tiny little detail is the larger embeds. There's actually 5 of them in that footing now. There was 5 created, and there's actually 5. There's one behind the crane we can't quite see in this photo.
Back here or like in this area?
Yeah, there's 5, but 10 in the center and 5 around the outside. 10 smaller ones on the center and 5 larger rectangle ones, yeah.
Kind of weird to have 5 of them.
Yeah, I know.
The one for the booster cryo stand over here only has 4, right?
Yes, it's unusual, that's correct. But it is confirmed, there is 5 in there.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, go ahead.
Have they ever done a completely full cryo test on the boosters, both tanks?
Yes.
So I'm not sure if they've done. I'm pretty sure they have. So I know that last time with booster 12, they did the LOX tank, then they did the methane tank, and then they did the LOX tank and partially filled the methane tank. I think they may have actually completely filled the methane tank as well when they did that last test. It was very slow, so it took about 7 hours. I may have to go back. I would have to go back and check that footage, but I don't know if it was fully loaded or not.
Okay.
If not 12, one of the other boosters, I'm pretty sure, has been filled 100% both tanks.
Yeah, I mean, with how many tanks they have out here, I guess it wouldn't be a surprise that they're able to do that. So it does make sense that they would do that. So yeah, I mean, the testing procedures have become pretty standardized. Like, oops, sorry about that. We don't normally see in the past. We would see, different tests every time they cryo tested a vehicle, so they weren't like standardized. But now it's pretty much the same procedure every single time. So it's just been a while since I've actually watched one of the Massey's cryo tests, but I do believe they fully filled the methane tank. I'm just not 100% positive on that. But yeah, so I guess moving on a little bit, we still have the ramp, the expected ramp down here. This is the part that we're expecting to go basically in the front of the, I guess, I don't know if you would call this the front or the back of the flame trench, but the part that slopes downwards and still got the framework pieces haven't really been touched for the curved section of the ramp. But it seems like they're making progress on that. I mean, this looks basically the same from last week, except I think there's just like one new crossbeam in here. But yeah, they're still making some progress on that. Elsewhere, we see that they've started excavating. So I think they had. I can't remember last week if they had this completely covered in concrete or not, but they're doing some more groundwork over here. But we are still expecting 2 new tanks to be here, but we don't know what they're going to look like as far as if they'll be sitting on top of pedestals. But right now, it doesn't really look like there will be pedestals, but they'll just be sitting flat on the ground. So that'll be interesting to see. And speaking of tanks, well, I guess we'll show this a little bit when we get to the launch site, but we are expecting 2 of these tanks to come in soon, and they've actually been delivering more tanks to KSC as well too. And initially, I think some people thought that they may be continuing work on, or essentially replacing the tanks that they took from KSC. So some of these came from Pad 39A. I think it's these two down here came from 39. But as far as we know, and I think somebody from who works down there kind of confirmed that they're basically expanding the tank farms for the 39A Falcon 9 launch pad, but it's not for Falcon 9; it's for Falcon Heavy. So essentially, they want enough capacity to be able to detank and basically multiple cycles for Falcon Heavy, so that if they have an issue that causes them to detank, they don't have to spend several days replenishing the tank farm. So SpaceX has definitely been busy purchasing and installing new tanks on both sides of the country. So pretty interesting to see all of that stuff come together at once. So what else do we have back here? They've got another concrete pad that they just laid down here. We don't really see anything necessarily going on top of it yet, but yeah, just another thing to mention back here. And still do not have, as far as I can tell, I don't see these heat exchangers connected to anything yet, but they're at least ready for that. So lots of work going on the actual GSE part of the tank farm. So what else? Anything else down here that I haven't mentioned?
I've noticed. Go on.
Sorry, they have started plumbing the locks. Hippos there, you can see a pipe running across to them.
Okay, yeah, so it is going across right here then. A little tough to see from this angle, but yeah, I guess it is right there.
I'm not sure whether it was put up in this week, but do you see the white box van? Behind it, there's a large black tanker. It seems like it was put up just recently.
This one?
Yeah, that one.
Yeah, this one came from the suborbital launch site, I believe. So they had this at the suborbital launch site, and I think this may have been a water tank. I'm not 100% sure. I know all of that stuff was labeled. I don't know as much about the suborbital farm as I do about the orbital farm, but I think this may possibly have been a water tank, but I could be wrong about that. Yeah. So let's see, what else do we have out here? I guess maybe let's check and see if we have any questions from Massey's.
No questions so far. We have some donations. We've got We've got Sharpie with a $10 donation, starting the Sharpie train. Choo choo. And Barry Wood, thank you very much. And Barry Wood, £5. Thank you for all you do to make this sure enjoyable. Jim Cabot, $5. KC by 10 now. That is said, let's get the show. Thanks, RGV Aero Photography and team. Okay, thanks, Jim. And Rocket Profit, $10. $10 train, roll on. Choo choo. Thank you very much. And no questions so far.
Okay, cool. Well, for those who don't know, if you do have a question for us, all you have to do is type in !question followed by your question, and then we will get those in. I think we haven't had the question bot working for the last few weeks, but it is working today. So if you have questions, you can do it that way, and we will make sure to address them at the end of each of these sections that we go through. So yeah, I think we'll go ahead and move on to the Sanchez site, unless anybody has anything else they want to add here.
No, just a little tiny bit of concrete there left of the methane tank. And we've just got one more. Glenn Griffins, thanks for a gift at RGV Aero Photography, and congratulations, Peter Davis, for receiving it.
Oh, and hold on, let's see. I got a video here from Mauricio. I'm gonna have to see how I can show this, but I think this is basically from the stacking of ship 28. So just stand by here for a second.
So while Zach's doing that, in chat, how about you put your best guesses down at when the next launch will be? We can't answer that question, so how about chat have a go at answering that question, please?
All right, here we go.
Awesome.
So yeah, it looks like ship 28 is sitting there waiting to be lifted. I'm not sure if it's actually started yet. I don't know if this is just a current status update. I think that's what it is. Yeah, so I guess we'll be able to continue to show these as they come in. I think the alarms went off like several hours ago that, kind of signaling the start of this lift, but we have not seen it start yet. So we'll check back in on this here in a bit. And for now, we will go over to the Sanchez site.
We've got lots of guesses for the launch already. Most saying March, mid to late March so far.
Yeah, I mean, so as of a few months ago, or probably about a month ago, the original expected date was like February 14th, which is 4 days from now. I don't think I've ever really thought that was possible, but I think I may be moving my timeline up from where I had it at initially.
Yeah, definitely. The documentation for the actual launch hasn't come through yet, so it's going to take a while. Plus, they've got to do cryofill for test for booster and ship.
Right. Yeah, I mean, that's one big thing. SpaceX has not yet submitted their post-incident report yet to the FAA, so we are still waiting on that. I think that may be possibly the limiting factor right now. Again, I did think maybe the launch mount was going to be a limiting factor, but I'm not 100% sure on that. We will definitely address that a little bit more when we get there. I think I've kind of changed my opinion on what's going on with the launch mount. So I guess over here at Sanchez, one of the things that we should discuss is the expanded parking that they have. So they've paved most of the dirt parking that was over basically in front of the container wall, and so that goes all the way down to the end now. This is the last section down here that they're paving. So if you've ever been to Starbase, that'll look very different for you next time you're down there, and that's really cool. I mean, it's nice having a legit parking down there. I'm actually not sure. So I know that the Starbase sign, and let me get this right here. The Starbase sign is in front of this section right here, and that's the only part that doesn't appear to be blacktop. So I don't know if maybe I'm kind of hoping that they have not actually marked out parking spaces on this so that people only park to the left and right of it, which is kind of what it looks like right now. You can see cars on the left and the right, but not in the middle here. So that's pretty cool. Still allows people to come up there and take pictures of it in front of it. I know a lot of people like to do that when they go down to Starbase. So cool. So continuing on, we have still the second booster transport stand nearing completion, and I think it's probably nearly ready to go. All of the clamps are finally installed on there. Still waiting to see them start the third one, but as we mentioned last week, they don't really seem to be in much of a rush to do so. One of the things that they have done, though, is move the ship install stand away. Move the ship install stand into Mega Bay 2, so that's no longer out here. I think it was sitting on top of here.
Yep, and its platform, and there's a new platform up to the left.
Yeah, this looks like it might be something for the Star Factory. I'm not sure if you were talking about that one or you're talking about this over here.
Yeah, that over there, yeah. That's a new platform for the next ship install stand off to the left, yeah.
Okay, because I know they had one of these that they basically disassembled, right? Like they took all the panels off it. Are you sure this is not that same one?
Yeah, that one was only the main 6 radiating beams last week, and was already there last week as well.
Okay. Yeah, so that'll be at least 3 ship install stands, which will be about equivalent to what they have for the boosters. So 3 booster install stands, 3 ship install stands. So that's really cool. I think the Mega Bay 2 will likely end up being very similar to Mega Bay 1, except the ship install stands won't all be in a line in the back row. So yeah, it'll be cool to see that once they're fully completed. But I guess the big news of the week at Sanchez would be that I think for the 3rd time now they've started lifting up columns for the next tower section. But this time I think they've actually left it up. So I think that at this point they have 3, possibly even all 4 columns lifted for this right now, and they've already started putting the support beams up there as well too. So that's good news. And on that note, the tower sections from Florida have left the turn basin. They're on a very large barge heading to the port of Brownsville. And we have a really cool image this week from Jenny Hotman. She posted a really awesome image that I wanted to share really quick. So let me pull that up. So she caught this inside of the. This was basically leaving KSC, so you can see the VAB in the background there. This is really cool the way that these are lined up like this. So yeah, if you order a Starship Tower, this is how they'll deliver it to you. I think it'll be 2 barges, 2.5 barges that it takes to get them there. But yeah, this is really cool seeing them being transported this way. You can see the heart on here that says "Stack Me." I'm guessing this is supposed to be a Valentine's Day reference, and usually these things take longer than 5 days to get to where they're going. But that would be interesting to see this show up by Valentine's Day. It is interesting to have the "Stack Me" on there with the Valentine's Day kind of theme, because there's no way that this will actually be stacked anywhere near Valentine's Day, but still fun to see. Yeah, you can. One of the other cool things about these is just the way they've strapped these down. So there's a bunch of chain hoists or come-alongs that I think there's. Oh man, somebody counted them recently, but they got. So you can see them for each tower section. They're on both sides and then front and back as well too. So
They've got all of them.
Yeah, they're insanely well strapped down.
Yeah, that's good. Won't want those going anywhere whilst you're shipping them.
You see these 2 guys down here riding along with that. I wonder if they're sitting there for the whole trip. All right. Yeah, but like I said, we should probably see those show up. I don't know, at least within the next week, that's for sure. So, once they arrive, I'm assuming most of this stuff will be out of the way as far as being able to set those down over here. But most of the actual stands for those are over here. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then I've lost the 6th one, but I know there's 7 and 8 here. So yeah, this is going to be really cool once they actually show up. And I one more thing to mention though, they have done. It's tough to see here. I guess you can kind of see it. They've gotten some of the mechanical pipe work set up in these sections, but they don't have the actual cryo tubing inside of these yet. So that'll be one of the last things they have to do once they arrive. But other than that, they're mostly completed. At least all the hardest part of the work is pretty much done.
Yeah, it's a lot.
Go ahead.
It's a lot better than the first tile they built when they had to put all the cryo pipes up the tower initially.
Yeah, they've definitely gotten that figured out as far as like having it a little bit more streamlined. It's definitely much easier to put all that stuff in ahead of time and not have to drop it into the tower. So yeah, that definitely allows them to speed up the stacking process significantly.
Oh yes.
So what else we have? This building down here, it looks like it may finally come online soon. So it looks like they're running some conduit through the front here, and this is basically the same conduit path that they've laid a lot of electrical work down. This is basically going on top of all the other electrical work that they did down here. But we still don't really know what this building is going to be used for. But just kind of assuming it may have something to do with overall comms for the site, and it could be like some sort of backup bunker as well too. But it's definitely hardened more than a lot of the other structures on site, as far as appearing to be able to withstand like I would say storm surges more than anything else out here, because of just the way it's constructed. Definitely one of the taller buildings down here as far as like GSE related stuff goes. It's not really at ground level as far as where all of the mechanical stuff within the building is. It's like a full level off the ground. So that's interesting. Like I said, we'll never really know what that is unless somebody explains it to us from SpaceX, which probably is not going to happen. So let's see, what else do we have going on down here?
They have plumbed those brown diesel tanks a little bit since last week.
Yeah, so it looks like they got some pipes coming from these. And yeah, as Stephanie said, we have been assuming that these are probably diesel tanks for the generators down here. So just basically allowing them to swap back and forth between CNG and diesel, or run a dual fuel setup where they're blending CNG with diesel. And again, still unsure of what the purpose is, because we don't really know what these are connected to. And as far as we know, most of Starbase is running off of power from Brownsville now, so this is still a bit confusing to us right now. So not really much to talk about over at the inventory tent, other than Stephanie pointed out this nose cone that we have chilling down here. This is from Ship 27, actually. It's like one of the last remaining pieces from Ship 27. Not sure why they're keeping it, but I'm sure it'll come up with some use for it at some point, or else it would be scrapped by now. Moving on. So, of course, we have Ship 28 down here, which was being prepared to be lifted off of this engine install stand. So last week, they swapped out some engines on 28. We're not really sure why, but we do know that they swapped out several engines on there. And I think we were initially expecting Ship 28 to do a static fire, and as of right now, it's currently waiting to be lifted onto the booster 10. So I don't know. Have y'all changed your minds about whether or not 28 will do a static fire? See if I can get a better image of this.
I don't see why they wouldn't allow 28 to do a static fire. It'd be like missing a vital safety feature.
Yeah, I mean, at the same time, I don't think that like swapping an engine out guarantees that you need to static fire it, because you've already tested the engine at McGregor, and then you've already tested the ship itself. So you know that the ship's plumbing works, and you know that the engine works. So I'm not sure if it's always necessary to do that once you swap out an engine.
See, that's interesting. So do you think that they're going off of the trustworthiness of the tests at McGregor then, instead of actually doing a full static fire?
Yes and no. Like, I mean, I'm on your side as far as I initially expected 28 to do another static fire. But yeah, I'm not sure. So I guess one of the things to consider, and we'll talk about this more when we get there, but the crane at the suborbital site appeared to be set up to lift 28 onto the suborbital stand. But as we all know, 28 is about to be lifted on top of booster 10. So there may be something else going on there as far as like wanting to get some testing done of the actual new tank farm setup. So maybe they just need to actually perform a cryo test so they can verify that everything's good with the tank farm before they do another static fire with 28.
Yeah. And in terms of actually manufacturing these ships at decent speed, if you don't have to do a static fire and lock the launch pad down for however many hours a day, that does speed things up quite a bit.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Yeah, I guess we'll have to keep our eyes out on that. I'm sure we'll probably see some road closures that'll give us an idea of what to expect. Obviously, any road closures that come up within the next week will be for full stack testing. But I think it would be interesting if 28 never comes back down from booster 10, but I don't think that'll be the case. So moving on, we do have one more thing down here, which is kind of crazy with how close these images are. So you can actually see the guys up on the roof over here working on completing this new water tank. So you can see this is very identical to the one over here. Basically, they build it from the top down. So there's a jack stand down here that they install the panels, and then it lifts up another level, and then they continue to install the panels and lift it up further. Let's see, what else do we want to talk about down here? There's not much that has changed on that area. Anything else y'all wanted to mention?
Just to be zoomed back out near the parking lot in the top left corner, we can see some temporary fencing foundations put in right next to Raminos Avenue, right there.
Yeah, and they expand all the way down here, it looks like.
So that'll be temporary fencing for that construction work.
Right, yeah, and I guess this morning Starship Gazer's been down there on site, and he said that it appears that they've basically started construction within this parking lot. So I guess that pretty much confirms where the parking garage will end up going. I think I did throw out some ideas of it being in another location, but since the beginning, it's mostly made sense that it'll be right here. But that kind of throws into question what's going to be up next to the Star Factory, which we'll also talk about once we get there. But yeah, I mean, this is basically right on schedule from when they said it was going to start the construction on this, and that's going to be interesting. So it's a 6-floor parking garage. So that's going to be much needed. I mean, I wouldn't even be surprised if they could actually fill up an 8-level parking garage if they had the ability to make one. But yeah, that's going to be much appreciated, I think, by the employees not having to park on the street and whatnot. Cool. So anything else from Sanchez?
No. Senti asked, did we get confirmation of swap or if they just replaced the same engines? We're not sure about what they did with engines with Ship 28.
From my understanding, they're not the same engines. They were swapped out for some issues.
Sorry, from the launch site. Any Mooney Blues, any sign of foundation work for the new tower? Not yet. And Norris wants to know, would any of the booster test stands be the start of the new OLM2? Well, definitely not. Let me see. That's all the questions. Thanks, Zach. And that's all donations too. Thank you.
Cool. Well, moving right along, we still have... You know what? This actually reminds me. I wonder if they're still working on this HLS nose cone right now. I think it's probably mostly a display piece at this point. But it's been sitting here for a while, and we never really... Because we can't drive down Remedios anymore, nobody really knows if they're actually doing any work in there. But that would be interesting to find out if they're still doing work on the inside of this. But yeah, so we don't have as many pictures of the front of the ring yard this week. As I said, the weather was not really cooperating, so got as many pictures as we were able to. But y'all can see that here the booster transport stand had moved in through the front door and was preparing for Booster 10 to be lifted on top of that. So Booster 10 was taken to the launch site, and now we have Booster 11 in the corner, 12 in the center, 13. I don't know which corner 13 is in right now, but 13 is fully stacked right now. And this morning, I guess the first sections of Booster 14 were brought to the front of the basically the like staging point in front of the Mega Bay, like right down. So my zooming is not working right now. Hold on. There we go. So they have like a little staging area right here. It could be in either one of these. It's tough to tell from the side of the road. But it appears they are about to start stacking Booster 14. So really crazy, even considering being that far ahead. But yeah, I mean, the work never stops out here. That's for sure.
And we've seen through some of the cameras on site that door has come all the way to the bottom now. So they've put the final segment of that door in Mega Bay 1.
Yeah, that's was bound to happen. I still think it is cool that they have it. It's a good thing to have. My one thing that I still keep thinking is the fact that they don't have one. So they have started one for Mega Bay 2, but they have not done that for the High Bay. So there are lots of things that they haven't done for the High Bay that they have done for these. Like for one, the LED lights that go against the back wall. You can see those LEDs right here, or they may not be LEDs. They might be like neon lights or something like that. But they have not put in lights or a door on High Bay, which in my opinion is still a sign that they're not intending for this to be a permanent structure.
Yeah, it's getting a little bit neglected with upgrades there, so it won't last long, I don't think.
Just while you're in that photo, we can obviously see that Mega Bay 2's had its roof pretty well completed.
Yeah, I mean, other than this top area right here, it seems like it's mostly done. I imagine that by this point, they've probably already gotten those last panels up there as well. But yeah, unfortunately, we don't have too many other angles that we can show this week. Looks like they do have this little tiny building that they completed down here on the side. I think this might just be like a mechanical room. It's tough to see from this angle whether or not it's extended down here, but I don't believe it is.
No, not yet.
Yeah. So moving on, we do have a few images of the Star Factory. I guess a better image that I can show here would be from long distance, because this will give a full view of it. Where is it? Here we go. So this is the current progress of the Star Factory. Hasn't gotten too much further than last week, but they were in the process of laying concrete down for this area, and they did not waste any time there. You can kind of see it's like almost looks like it's still wet here. So I think they did this entire slab in one day. You can see the at least 4, possibly 5 concrete trucks lined up waiting.
Yeah, there's a screed machine there next to concrete trucks on the yellow. And at the far end to the left, you can see the guys on the helicopters that are screeding the concrete.
Helicopters? Oh, I know what you
Yeah.
mean.
Yeah, they sit on them and they screed.
Right here.
Yeah, that's the guys, yeah.
Yeah, I think there's some closer images of that as well too. But tough to make out some details with this, just because of how dark it was out there with all of the cloud cover. One thing that we've, I guess, still been trying to figure out, which I don't know if I have a good angle of, is if they've started creating additional pads down in this front area, which I'm not able to see, unfortunately. Let me go back to a different image here. No, I don't think I have another image that'll show it. Actually, this one may kind of show it a little bit, like just at the bottom down here. It does look like another foundation right here, right?
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
Yeah.
So this thing may extend out the existing part of this building as well too. That's what it kind of looks like to me right now.
Yeah, there's a good chance that the new Star Factory building will continue its line and right till it gets to Star Factory 1. I doubt Star Factory 1 will get extended towards Mega Bay 2 just for the sake of the room. And funny, you mentioned Ring Yard before. Not much of Ring Yard, more of an alley now.
Yeah, I don't think there will be a reason to have a ring yard. Pretty much, like things will just basically come out of the Star Factory and go straight into the bays. But yeah, let me also pause for a second because it looks like Jake has joined us. So, Jake, welcome.
Hey everyone, it's good to be back, and hope you've enjoyed the stream so far. And yeah, I hope you've enjoyed all the awesome photos that Mauricio's taken this week. And with that, I'll pass it back to Zach.
Awesome. Yeah, thanks for joining us. What do you think, Jake? Will we have a ring yard at all anymore?
No, there shouldn't be need for one. If production's high enough, it should literally just be ring sections straight out of the factory and into the base. Yeah, there shouldn't be anything sitting between the base and the factory in the future.
Yeah. It's really sad. I mean, one of the ways that we were able to learn so much about, the changes that they made to the vehicles was because of ring sections sitting out in the ring yard. But that doesn't appear that will happen at all anymore. So, I mean, the front of the building will basically come all the way over here, which, I mean, yeah, that's like 50 meters of space between the front door of the factory and the Mega Bay. I mean, it's even going to be, or sorry, that's the high bay over here. It might even be difficult. I mean, we'll basically have like, I don't know, 5 minutes to catch ring sections moving back and forth there, where they'll be outside. And other than that, we won't really see ring sections too much anymore.
I say there's not really going to be a ring yard anymore. They might still be staging sections right in front of the bays. That might still be a thing. She will have that time that those particular sections are sitting in front of the bays to work out what they are. But yeah, apart from that, you're not really going to see anything.
Yeah, I mean, unless they like scrap something, it'll be tough to tell like what's changed on new vehicles, other than being able to look at weld marks on the outside of them. Yeah, times are definitely changing. All right, so I will move on, I guess. We can't really see as much with the other Star Factory images. Did y'all have anything you wanted to add about the Star Factory, though?
Just the
no.
fact that it's being constructed pretty damn fast.
Yeah, second that one.
Should see the thing fully constructed and mostly operational by the end of the year, if not fully operational.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be a busy year.
From the previous photos, on the far left, you could just see concrete at the front of the Star Factory. One of the further out photos, the zoomed out photo.
Oh,
it's not a big detail.
Are you just talking about the parking lot area over here, or
right, yeah,
down
right.
here?
No, right at the very corner of the building. Yeah, right there's concrete. Yeah, for the front.
Yeah, it's really odd to me that they didn't just do that from the beginning. It's weird that they put all of the siding up on this building and then extended it later. But yeah, I think it may just been like a last minute change that they made where they're like, let's actually make an aisle on the end of the building where they're able to move things through that aisle.
There's one question also, while we're right there about that block of land. Has there been any more updates of that little block of land that's been in the courts there?
Yeah, we're going to wait until June for the next the next development, which it's been dragged out a lot.
And there's new footings just there on that little clear bit of area near your cursor there. Just
down here.
down a bit lower, down lower.
I see some down
There's some
here
big ones as well. There's some
Yep.
big square ones.
Yep.
Down up. There's at least 4 big footings there I could see.
And there, yep.
Also, before we move on from this area as well, I just want to mention you were saying why they didn't extend the front of the factory out earlier. Maybe they were just waiting on materials for it. Maybe that's why that didn't happen at that point.
Yeah, that's a good possibility. I mean, I think one way or another it was probably a design change, but after making that change, they realized, that they needed to just get this wall up so that they could activate this side of the factory and take down Tent 3 as early as possible. But wow, I mean, this thing is way bigger than I think any of us ever expected it to be, even after we knew that they were going to expand it. I think it's with this addition right here and the stuff that's in the front, it's well over 1 million square feet. So
I mean, it looks big in this photo, but then when you actually see a close-up of someone stood next to it, then that's when you really start to realize just how big this building is.
yeah, it's insane. I feel like if Tim Dodd ever does another tour of Starbase, he could probably spend just an hour and a half walking through the aisles of this building.
So there's a question, where will all the rainwater go from Star Factory? So look at this image across the face. There's some drainage work going on as well down there. Is where all the water's going to go out to the flats, I imagine. Just to the left, there's drainage work.
Yeah.
They have none of these gutters are some of them are connected, most of them aren't. But they are currently digging a trench right here and laying drainage pipe down there, so you can just barely make that out here. There's a pipe right there. So they're digging that this way. I'm not really sure where it'll go. It possibly may just turn in this direction and go down there.
And do you think we'll have solar panels on the roof with Sky Moody Blues?
Yeah, I mean, we get that question every week. I think right now we're not really sure. I mean, it's definitely a large enough building to have solar panels. I guess to some degree, I would maybe have expected them to already start on that, possibly. But that's something that they may wait until it's fully completed to.
Yeah, I can see that being the case.
They need their full canvas to draw their great big SpaceX X on top of the roof, perhaps.
Yeah, I mean, fitting their logo up here is going to be weird because it's not a rectangle, so it's going to be weird however they do that. I guess just a huge X would make the most sense, but an X isn't going to take up very much of the surface area on here, so I'm guessing I don't know if it will actually see a logo up there or not if they do it.
Yeah, true.
Cool. I guess we will move on from the Star Factory unless there was anything else that y'all wanted to mention.
Just a donation from Ulrich Mueller. Thanks for the show. Thumbs up. And a membership of 25 months from Jim Cabot saying, thanks RGV Aerial Photography for the great ride. Looking forward for more. Thank you, Jim. And that's it. Thank you.
Cool. Well, there is not very much to cover from the village this week. Well, there really never is. But I guess we will at least show it. We do have a nice new angle right now, and I guess one thing, they got this new street down here.
Oh yeah, that's a pretty decent development there.
And there's more tiny homes where the old fabrication building used to be on the far left. That's about all, really. And maybe a little bit more development on the old solar farm area.
Basically, the village is, villaging.
Yeah.
That's it.
So I mean, this is the first new. I think it's a new home down here. So I guess this may be a sign that they'll even put even more down here. Which, I mean, insane amount of living space down there for sure.
And then, of course, they've got more land to come if that land swap works out, which will be even further down from in this photo. Be more land to build on there for the village.
Yeah, that's gonna be weird in my opinion because I mean this is very close to the launch site as it is. So getting any closer to it is pretty wild. Um, I wonder. One of the things that it would be weird for me living here is having to leave every time there's a launch. Um, you can't just like stay in your home. I wonder if they
They
go
should have
door to
made.
door and make sure nobody's there.
I'd like to think so, but you never know. Anyway, they should have done with this village. They should have made every house a concrete bunker.
I mean, yeah, I'm sure. I don't know. I think these hold up pretty well, though. They probably get a lot of vibrations during static fires and launches, but other than that, they're probably safe for the most part. So, yeah, cool. I guess we will move on to the launch site. I'm gonna keep moving us through this episode. I'm sorry we're going a little bit faster than normal, but we also don't have as many images to cover this week, and unfortunately, this time around we don't have ground images, so we're gonna be moving a little faster than normal. But yeah, let's go over to the suborbital launch site where I feel like there's not really anything to talk about here. What do y'all think?
Not really. I think maybe the only change there is the little concrete pad next to test stand B is normally where they stage the crane for lifting vehicles onto the test stand. I think it was starting to crack around the edges, so I think they've just sort of ripped up some of the concrete, replaced it. But yeah, that's probably about it.
So,
Yeah, and they've cleaned out the little peninsula to the right as well. They removed a lot of stuff from there recently.
Do I have a good shot of that? Let's see here. Um, are you talking about this right here?
Yeah, there was crane parts and tank cradles and all sorts of other things there. Um, that's obviously all now sitting at the new storage lot near Massey's.
Oh, here was a better image. Yeah, I'm really excited for this launch to get out of the way so that we can see them start work on the next tower. That's gonna be pretty awesome.
The
yeah,
ninth
definitely.
tank arrived this week, is that right? And they've done a little bit more work on that amenities block.
Yeah, we do have finally a complete. Well, I say complete with like air quotes, a complete tank farm. They do have the ninth and final tank down here. So this arrived earlier in the week. This I can't remember where they came from. I know it's somewhere in
This
Europe.
one, this particular one, I think it was. Oh yeah, actually no, I do know where these tanks are from. They're actually all made in China.
Really?
And
I
then
thought
they
they were
come.
from like the Czech Republic or
They
something like that.
they have come from those areas, but there was a label spotted on the ninth tank the other day, and it said on it "Made in China."
Gotcha. So they're made in China, shipped over to Europe, and then to Starbase.
Yeah, they've done quite a bit of travelling.
Interesting.
Well, they dug a trench at the front of the orbital tank farm and they've laid some conduit and nearly filled it back in again.
And
Yeah,
yeah, I think what's going to go on top of that is that little comms bunker right nearby, little comms hut.
this one.
Yeah, you can see some stubs sticking out the ground there, and then you've got this new comms bunker sitting nearby. So that's my guess. It's just going to go right where those stubs just coming out of the ground.
Yeah, this is a crazy amount of storage down here. Still haven't gotten a estimation on what this total storage is in comparison to the original tank farm, but I think in order to do that, we'll need to know what's what, which we have not yet figured out. So I mean, for now, we've kind of been assuming that there are 4 nitrogen tanks and 5 LOX tanks, but there possibly could be just 3 nitrogen tanks and 5 LOX tanks. So it's really tough to say right now.
And it's also worth mentioning as well, whilst we're looking at these tanks, that they have actually started hooking up the main cryo lines to the first 3 tanks. They've been installing that pipe hook in the last few days.
Wow, yeah, making tons of progress. And one thing I was talking about before the show is just how dirty these are. I think they could definitely use a power wash. But that's a lot of surface area to wash, so it probably is not going to happen.
Just turn the deluge system on a few times.
Right.
That'll clean things a little bit.
Stick a giant sprinkler to one of the starships as it's launching.
So moving down further, actually, I'm going to talk about the backside of this. They're still working on getting this this new framework for the water tank and the nitrogen tank. Mostly finished painting the nitrogen tank, but they haven't finished the one with the water tank. But yeah, it looks like most of the work is finishing up down there, at least for now. I think most of the scaffolding is gone as well too down here.
Yeah, I think it's just some
looks rough.
maybe a bit more insulation work. Although I'm not sure what's happening with that tank there. They just seem to have kind of abandoned it. Well, abandoned doing the insulation again anyway.
Yeah, it looks really bad.
Special.
I guess I'll move on to the other side of the tank farm. So this is just really cool being able to see this from this angle. This is actually now my favorite part of the tank farm. I don't know why. It just looks a lot cleaner than the other side as far as like being finalized in some ways. But yeah, I mean, it's really cool being able to see all of this stuff. I think they do have all 5 LOX pumps connected. They did replace one this week. I'm not sure which one it was. Possibly the middle one again.
Yep.
Yeah, I think it was the middle one. Although I'm seeing insulation missing on 2 sets of pipework there, so they may be able to change out another one.
Yeah, I mean, it does look like that. So they have insulation just on these first 2, and then this part right here, and so they're still missing it on these 3 lines.
Oh yeah, 3rd one's missing it as well.
Yeah, so I do expect to see that before the launch because they'll probably want to get those in. I don't know how crucial they are, but I mean, it would be kind of weird not to have them there. And as far as the other insulation goes, I mean, they've fully covered all of the insulated pipes down here. I mean, yeah, like I said, it looks pretty much ready to go.
And we've actually seen this new pipework being used in the last couple of days as well. They've been pumping vapors out the ends of those, and it looks pretty cool.
Yeah, I think I missed that. I've been a little bit busy and haven't really seen much action down here, but I think we'll be having a cryo test here soon. I don't know if we can consider it a wet dress rehearsal, but I mean, essentially.
Yeah, I've been looking at
it
it as a tanking test. That's pretty much what I refer to them as now. Because yeah, of course, they've still got to verify the ship side of things with the new hippos and the new pumps. And then I guess if that's all okay, then they'll probably move on to the actual wet dress rehearsal then.
Jake, I guess we didn't get your opinion on it. Do you think that Ship 28 will do a static fire test?
Yep. I just can't see them not firing the engines again after they've been pulled off the ship and then put back on again. They're just. I think there's going to be some kind of test for sure of Ship 28 on its own. If they don't do a sci-fi test and spin prime test, but I can't see there being nothing. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that seems to be the general consensus. So I guess moving on, the other thing we were waiting on last week was for them to pour the this sloped wall down here that joins the main concrete pad to the actual berm, I guess you can call it. I don't know if it's a berm or just a blast wall. I think it's more just a blast wall. But that appears to be complete now. So that was one of the last remaining items at the tank farm that we were kind of waiting on. I mean, with the way it looks right now, I'd say it's pretty much ready to go.
Yeah, I gotta be honest, this new blast wall looks a lot better than a beaten up Escobar wall.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. It'll probably withstand any potential shrapnel better as well too.
Just there at the bunker, below the bunker, there's been a little bit more concrete poured. We think might be for a transformer down there at the lower end, right down the bottom near the road. Yep, right there.
Yeah, I'm not sure if they've gotten. So this is one permanent transformer. Yeah, one other thing I've kind of been waiting on is for them to get additional cooling for this building, because right now they have a temporary AC unit down here, which is basically keeping the server room cool. So this building is definitely generating a lot of heat, which requires them to add additional cooling more than just what they have down here. So I have been expecting them to add additional cooling capacity here, but have not seen that yet. And I think we're going to have some picture-in-picture action now here, so that we'll be able to keep an eye on the stacking process if that gets started.
While you're doing that, we've got Methane Man gifted 5 memberships. Thank you, and congratulations to those who received them. And KMS gifted 5 memberships. Thank you very much. And Methane Man, member for 6 months, howdy. And KMS, member for 8 months. The only channel I'm member of, and you definitely deserve it. Thank you all. Thank you. Jax, which is JACQS, not our JX Jax. Member for 24 months, howdy too. And one question, is the triangle building first half of fluid bunker for Tower 2? I don't believe so.
No, definitely not. No. It's
Sorry,
it's just
James,
a basic build.
Oh, sorry. And James L, US $10. Yep, I do believe the launch will be April Fool's Day. Thank you. And that's all for me. Thank you.
Jake, what were you going to say about the bunker over here?
Yeah, it's just a basic building. It's I still think it's just an amenities building. There's not really much else to it. It's just can't see it being anything to do with the fluids bunker at all.
Right. Yeah. Like I said, as far as we know, this is a restroom, and they are working pretty quick after they had to redo the walls of this, so it's looking like it's in a much better spot right now. So they are starting to form out the actual roof. This is confusing me a little bit because this should be a concrete roof, right?
Yeah, so they're just doing all the shoring at the moment. And you can see where they're tying the tops of the pillars together as well with all that rebar. So yeah, coming through, was it plywood or something like that? The brown stuff.
Right.
So yeah, you can see tops of pillars coming through that, and then the pillars go into the tops of the rebar. And yeah, that should make a pretty solid roof when they then go to pour the concrete.
I'm informed that those rectangle cages, steel cages there on the diagonal, are a beam that will be within the roof. So and that's to span that great big opening there, which has it's basically freestanding except for those pillars.
Yeah, that makes me wonder if it's going to be like a post-tension beam, but I don't know if you would put that across the actual columns or not. It's clearly not done yet, though. It seems like they're going to go all the way across with it.
Maybe
But
just
yeah.
for that spot to support that little bit of cantilever there.
Right, because there's no wall right here.
Yeah.
I just hope this building holds up for a decent amount of time with all the work they put into it.
I
Well, it
mean,
is
I
built
imagine it
like
should be fine. It's out of the way of the launch tower, so I mean, it's basically. Let me see if I can get a better angle of it. Yeah, so you know, it's shielded by the tower for the most part, just like the actual um, Deluge farm. So
And I
as long as
suppose
this farm is good, I think this will be as well.
as I said, I suppose the Deluge Farm's slightly shielded in the that new building as well.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Um, and let's move on, I guess, to the actual launch mount itself. Get a better
yeah,
shot of this.
stage Zach's favorite subject, stage 0.
Yeah, this has been a little bit of a confusing one. So I've been talking with Ryan Hansen Space about this over the past few days. Um, so we've kind of like reevaluated what's been going on down here. Ryan's been looking into this more than I have. I've been kind of tied up with getting another episode done. But so I guess from what Ryan was able to determine, a lot of the burn panels, at least on this back wall over here, were actually removed prior to IFT2. So they only had, I think, like 2/3 of them on this side installed. And so that's actually interesting because, having removed them on the portion where it gets affected most by uh, the pad avoidance maneuver is interesting. So, I mean, it also, I guess, as far as what Ryan's been thinking, is more of a sign that they were like blast panels and not necessarily burn panels. So, I guess the theory is that the reason that they had those was not to protect against the thermal energy, but more for mechanical energy from like blast and stuff like that. So if they had an issue where um, the engines exploded or something, like that's kind of more what they were protecting against, and not necessarily um, the flames themselves. And so I guess after those first two launches, they may have potentially decided that it wasn't necessary after examining the inside surface over there. I mean that's Ryan's theory. I think it's interesting just because they have still had to replace burn panels on the top of the launch mount. So I'm not sure. I'm not sold on that theory, but it is an interesting one. Um, the other thing which I mentioned last week is that they removed the side panels for the actual hold down arms. Um, I think some of them are still up. I was looking at it earlier. This is a really, really good shot right here. So when you look on them right here, you would be able to see them if they were here. They would just be like a line going across right there. So it seems like all of them are removed. There may be one right here. It's tough to tell, but it looks like a panel on this one as well too. So it seems like some of them are removed and others aren't.
And what an amazing photo this is from the RGV team.
Yeah, this is definitely one of a kind view that I was wishing for months to have a shot this close. But yeah, this is awesome, and this is really cool because you can even see um, you can see the guys on top of the table a lot better than we have been in previous shots. But one of the big things is you can see how these are actually welded on. I think maybe this other side's a little bit better, but they're basically holes that are cut into these panels, and then they weld around the inside of them, and then fill them in, and then I think they weld the caps in them after. So
Yeah,
it's a pretty big deal to have to remove one of these panels. It's a lot of work.
and yeah, whilst you're there, it's worth mentioning as well that these two new panels have just been welded straight on top of the existing ones. Um, and they've also reinforced the lower door on the BQD hood as well, which is also made me realise that we may be seeing that pad avoidance maneuver again. just because of all this extra bit of reinforcement in that area.
Speaking of which, Craneman asks, why aren't they skipping the pad avoidance manoeuvre?
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's a
not really
tricky
sure.
one.
That's a
They're
question
just
for SpaceX.
they're just super cautious at the moment. Yeah, I understand why they're still doing it, but just I don't like seeing. It's just a bit destructive to that one side of the OLM. It's
But yeah, so like I said, I think, as far as my initial thoughts that we should expect them to reinstall these before the launch, maybe not. I think it's a good chance that we may not be seeing that happen. And Kai just posted an image here, about the shiny object that I was seeing down there might actually be the piston from the piston that actuates the hold down arm. So I'll show that really quick. This piston right here. So that is a good point. That might be actually what we're seeing there is a piston and not the actual shield piece. So yeah, that's kind of what that looks like right here.
It is very clean metal, whereas the panels would probably be quite rusted.
Right.
and the way I'm seeing it with all of this shielding removed is, if they were going to put it back on again, I feel like that just would have been done by now. I don't think we're going to see that return.
Yeah, I mean, and that was one thing I said last week, was that I wasn't sure if they were actually necessary, at least on the actual hold down arms themselves, because with the deluge system, you shouldn't really have flames necessarily reaching the bottom of this, and by not having those panels on here, that should allow the arms to retract slightly faster. I mean, it's possible that they weren't really inhibited by the extra weight, but I mean, surely you would think that would slow them down at least a little bit, because those extra panels are definitely adding weight onto those arms. So I think it's possible that could be part of the reason why they got rid of them, is just to allow them to move faster. But again, if they're just not needed at all, then you might as well not have them there. So but yeah, we are. I think we're getting much closer to the next launch, and I don't know what the general consensus was in the chat. I saw some guesses that said April, which I don't think that seems reasonable at all. I think that it'll be either close to the end of this month or the beginning of March is what it seems likely to me. But that depends on them submitting their post analysis or post incident report, right?
Yeah, I think on the hardware side of things, on SpaceX, I think they're definitely getting a lot closer now. But then obviously with the FAA stuff, that was a bit of a weird one, because one person seemed to say that things were closed now, and the other person seemed to say that everything was still open. So I'm still not really 100% sure what's going on there. But yeah, I think probably the end of this month, start of next month is probably the most likely for when that launch could happen.
Last I heard, the paperwork should be through mid-February, but that obviously could change.
It was mid-February to end of February.
Say that again.
Last I heard, the paperwork from the FAA is due mid-February.
Mid-February. So yeah, I mean, we're almost there. Really cool. Actually, I was looking at this earlier, being able to see a little bit closer on the actual deluge plates. And it's interesting being able to see like the areas right where the engines are firing, how those are a lot cleaner than the areas in between it, which are kind of a little bit more burnt.
It's the patterns become very clear now. It's I find that pretty interesting. After each flight, everything just becomes a lot more clear there.
Yeah, you can almost see where the heat has hit the panel and water has prevented it from rusting or eroding the surface.
Yeah, I mean, other than that, I mean, it looks like it's in good condition. I mean, man, it's really amazing. Looking at it right here, you can even see the some of the cracks that were visible before in the fondag layer. But other than that, I mean, it seems to be in good condition. I will be interested to see particularly how the fondag part holds up over multiple launches. Um, I don't think that damage to that is very serious if it happens, because it's like not the main pad, and if anything, you'll probably get chunks of this flying free, but they'll be like small chunks, like basically like this little area within a crack might break free or something like that, but I don't think it's possible for the entire slab to lift free anymore. So yeah, I mean, overall, I mean, I guess it's tough to say with only having 2 launches, but it seems to be holding up pretty well. We'll get another idea after the next launch, but I think the even bigger test will be whenever they move over to Raptor 3. So that's gonna be interesting.
And then speaking of how the pad's holding up, the other thing that they're coming close to finishing now is the shielding on the tower base. They seem to have wrapped pretty much the whole 2 sides of it now.
Oh
Can't
yeah, of
quite
course. We should
see it so much from this angle.
let me get to an angle where we can see that.
And
Almost forgot.
a question on that is, how thick is the new steel panels on the tower base from Moody Blues?
Just under an inch, I think, from what I remember seeing of some older photos. It's not majorly thick. It doesn't need to be super thick in that area because the kinetic energy is sort of slowed down a little bit by that point.
Yeah, and I mean, it's really I mean, you will get flames touching it, but the thing is that I think the problem here was more like thermal energy than anything. So like the concrete getting so hot that it starts spalling. That I think that was a big problem. But with having that deluge system, there's basically like water spraying directly on this. So um, you know, this is basically just like more cosmetic protection than anything. Um, but yeah, I mean they've gotten it up pretty much everywhere now. I don't think there's any more concrete exposed on the base of this tower other than right here.
Yeah, I think they're pretty much done now. From what I can see, they've wrapped obviously the flat areas and they've wrapped all the corners of the tower base now. So yeah, that should be. I think they're just working on just welding the panels to each other now, and yeah, it's pretty close to being totally done.
So we've got a few more gifted memberships from Jax.
I see them flying in right now. It looks like Dave Avery gifted a ton of memberships as well too. Or is that sorry, Dave W. No, Dave Avery. Yeah, sorry. You want to go ahead with that?
1 minute, hang on. Hang on, I've lost my screen. Hang on.
Go ahead. And if you also, when you're doing that, if you want to go ahead and see if we have any additional questions as well, or do we already go through all the questions?
Our questions are done, thanks.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah, we might as well take just a brief look at the top of the chopsticks as well. You can see, obviously, the new walkways a lot more clearly in these photos. So, and yeah, you can see the actual ship lifting mechanisms a lot more clearly as well.
All right, Rocket Prophet donated 10 memberships, thank you. And Dave Avery also 10 memberships. And I think there was one in between I might have missed. I apologise. I've had to refresh my screen. I can't read it anymore. Thank you.
So just one thing with chopsticks. Do all the orange wires seem to lead to either cameras or lights on them?
Cameras, lights, and you'll obviously have cabling going to the actual mechanism, the hardware for flipping the ship lifting pins over as well and back.
Okay, it was just interesting that they're all orange.
Yeah, it's just literally just thermal protection, pretty much. It's on any bit of wire that's exposed around there.
Hey, did they put a steel panel over this? I can't remember. I know it had a kind of a steel panel over it, but I don't think it looked like this before.
Yeah, that's caught my attention as well recently. I can't say I've seen any work being done on it, but it does look like it's all stainless steel now, possibly, and I don't remember it. Yeah, I don't remember it looking like that before.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it didn't. It looks different. I'm gonna have to go examine some older images of that. Yeah, but I'm not sure if we had anything else we wanted to touch on. I know we're a little bit earlier right now than where we normally end the show, but we're trying to keep it a little bit shorter this week. And I was hoping that we were going to have some lifting action to show up in that corner of the screen, but it looks like they're taking a little while to get to that. So,
Well, you just know as soon as this streamlines, they're going to lift our ship. That's just
hey,
exactly the way it's going to go.
that's perfect for me because usually things happen during the stream, so that's awesome.
So, just one thing to chat before we disappear off. Do we reckon that the second launch tower might be going where the suborbital test stand is currently?
That's a great question.
I'll go to an image of that. I mean, there's still, I guess, some question on that right now because, obviously with the whole land swap thing that was proposed, which I believe I'm a little bit behind on that, but I think it was they shut that down or whatever or withdrew their.
No, so it was on the agenda for discussion last month, and then for some reason they withdrew that from the agenda, and it's now going to be next month, I think. So yeah, basically it's just postponed. I think they've just given more people to have their time to say on the on whether they want to go ahead or not.
I don't have a better image showing a little bit more of it, but it was basically just down here, correct? Like that was the area, at least the actual launch site. I know I see a lot of people talk about it online thinking that it was like a massive amount of land, but it's really not. It's basically like the area that's shown here.
Yeah, right about that.
More just under the Starbase stairway, the Gateway to Mars sign. Couple more questions, if you're ready.
Yeah.
A while ago, Zach from Tano, Zach said OLM is nowhere near ready for booster, which we all did, for that matter, even through the week. We were saying that, then all of a sudden the Booster 10 came out. Now that there is a booster, how close to OLM is the OLM ready for launch? I think we touched on that a bit.
Yeah. Like I said, I mean, I think I've, to some degree, reevaluated my opinion on that. We were expecting them to replace all of that shielding, but another thing I did say last week, which I also repeated this week, was that there was a possibility that that stuff just wasn't necessary. So it wasn't a solidified opinion that it's not ready. It was just my opinion at the time that there was a good chance that if they were going to reinstall all that stuff, then it was going to take a lot longer for them to become ready. But yeah, I mean, at this point, I don't think we can say that the launch mount is the limiting factor on when they'll be able to launch. I think it's submitting paperwork more than anything at this point.
Could they static fire the ship a single engine while on the booster?
Nope, definitely not. Main reason being is you've literally got the whole QD arm just sitting right next to it. Plus firing the engines on top of a booster at ground level, it's a bit more violent than when they do that at stage separation. So yeah, that's a big no-no. I mean, they could
I,
spin prime on top of the booster, but definitely not static fire test.
I agree. What does the stainless steel tank do behind the water deluge tanks from Asper Generator?
Oh yeah, that's that little tall tank. We believe that's the CO2 storage, liquid CO2.
This one.
And then that will and then obviously that then goes through the vaporizers. Is it that
I
one
think
or the
you
other
may be
one?
talking about this one, which is not used.
If you're talking about,
Well,
I'll
they
carry
did
on with
say
it anyway.
behind. They did say behind, so I'm guessing, yeah, that one behind.
Yeah,
Um,
this one's not being used as far as we know.
yeah, I don't think I've ever really seen that do anything.
Well, it's not
It may
connected.
it may be temporarily used when they were setting this whole tank farm up. But it doesn't do anything anymore. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah,
Thank you.
I think part of the intention for this may have been so if y'all remember that they had there was pipes coming off of the top of the vents on here. I think potentially, and there's no way to know for sure, that they were planning on collecting that vented water and sending it to this tank. Because they removed those lines from the top
Yeah,
of these, and they also stopped work on this tank around that same time. But again, it's tough to say because this entire tank farm was under construction at the same time, so it's really difficult to say. But it kind of correlates with the removal of those additional pipes that were up here.
Question from Sharpie. Will there be an additional deluge tanks for OLIT number 2, or even a whole deluge farm, perhaps?
you'd
Um,
like to think so, just for
yeah, I think they would have to.
Concur. And the red, I guess, conduits we see on top of the chopsticks arms, is the red conduits from Michael Garn? I believe so. They're electrical, at least.
yeah. That's just electrical lines just covered in a thermal covering to help protect them at launch. And well, when they eventually come to doing catching the boosters as well.
And that's all the questions for now. Thank you.
Awesome. Well, with that, um, I think that pretty much ends our show for today. Like I said, again, sorry for the shorter show, but lots of other things going on today as well too. So hopefully y'all don't mind. I think next week, well, we're gonna hope that we'll be able to have some ground images. Can't say for sure whether or not. It's been really difficult. I think once it reaches the end of March is when things start to become more predictable as far as having a lot clearer skies and less overcast like it's been lately. So, but yeah, we've been
And
we've
if
been really lucky over the last few weeks, and hopefully we continue to get lucky. Go ahead, Jake.
and if I get lucky enough, for the next flyover, we might have a fully stocked starship again, which would be pretty cool to see.
Yeah, I'm sure we'll have that by the end of the day, possibly. So
And
awesome. Well,
one last donation from Steve Coates, $1.99. Thank you very much. Late to the show. Better late than never. Thanks, Steve.
that's funny. When I was I think it was in middle school or it was in high school, our teacher made us put like $1 in a jar, like if we were late to class or something like that. So that's kind of how that reminds me. That'd be interesting if everybody donated when they were late. But appreciate
Absolutely.
that, Steve. Thank you for joining us, even though it's at the end of the show. Great.
And
Well, I guess I will sign off then. Thanks, Kai, for joining us and helping us out on the show today. Thanks, Jake, for showing up. And thank you, Stephanie, for answering questions and donations. And also, big thanks to the RGV team for getting up there again this week and getting some awesome flyover images from 3,700 feet. If you guys would like to check these out yourself, they are available both to YouTube members and also patrons as well too. So you can always download these images and go through them yourself. So I definitely welcome y'all to do that if you haven't already. And with that, I will pass it off to, I don't know, Jake.
Yeah, so it's been fun being back again, helping out with the stream. Um, and yeah, it's been great seeing how much more development there's been since the last flyover. It's definitely feeling like we're a lot closer to the next launch now. Things are looking a bit more promising. And yeah, hopefully by the next live stream, we'll look even closer to launch again. Yeah, with that, I'll pass it over to Cash.
Yeah, hi. It's been an amazing stream. I thank you guys for letting me chat here today. Hopefully, next stream we will actually get to see a full stack. That'll be pretty nice.
Okay, and with that, I'll say main engine cutoff, most engine cutoff, separation confirmed. Love you, bye.